My name's Coffee.
To this day, my favorite of all the blaxploitation movies is Coffee. All right, with Pam Grier. All right, and they call her Coffee because she'll cream you. No one sleeps when they mess with coffee.
Coming from a 1972, 73, 74 blaxploitation feeling, the music can be wah-wah, funkadity-thunkadity. It's got the great music and the great clothes, and King George looks fantastic in his pimp leisure wear, and the afros and the Cadillacs, and they hang out at the Total Experience at the very beginning, which was the big black nightclub in Los Angeles at the time. What not to love?
That's one of my favorite revenge. It's one of my two favorite revenge movies. It's one of my it's my favorite Pam Grier movie, which makes it one of my favorite movies. It's actually in my top 10 of favorite movies. I've seen Coffee so many times. You can watch it right now. All right, get completely caught up into it. I've watched audiences just be completely seduced by this movie and brought to a screaming fury, by the end of it. Kill them all, kill them, Coffee.
The idea that, like, a Coffee has lived a life, and the life she's lived has led her to this. I wasn't seeing the movies. I was just seeing this image of Pam Grier. The TV spots and the movie posters and the one-sheets and the soundtrack albums and the newspaper advertisements. It was this image of Pam in what always looked like a bikini to some degree or another, with that big afro and a sawed-off shotgun. There wasn't a white equivalent to that. Raquel Welch would do an action movie from time to time, but she wasn't like Coffee, all right? She's not blowing guys' heads off with a sawed-off shotgun.
They could never find a white equivalent for what Pam's star was, for what she was, because there really wasn't a white action female hero star. That her name was above the title. Pam Grier is Coffee. Pam Grier is Foxy Brown. That people would go and see to see her in this action role. There wasn't one like it before, and then when she stopped making them, there wasn't anybody to take her place.
It's the best revenge-o-matic movie ever made. I don't want to go too crazy on the idea that Coffee is a great movie. There's a lot of, it's very amateurish, but I do think that Coffee is one of the most entertaining movies ever made. It's one of the funnest revenge movies ever made. It's just entertaining. It's a blast. It's funny. It's just a hoot. You're having a bit of an internal struggle while you're watching it in the first 20, 30 minutes about the laughs. You're like, okay, am I laughing at the movie or am I laughing with the movie? And I suspect most audiences might think they were laughing at the movie. But then the story starts working. You start caring about the Pam Grier character. And about midway through, you're like, no. I think I'm laughing with the movie. No. Oh, and actually, that was supposed to be funny. No, this is actually genuinely witty.
She really owned a spot for women in the 70s with those films that America had really never seen before or since.
You're gonna fly through them pearly gates with the biggest fucking smile St. Peter ever seen.
No!
Hi, I've just been going through the original script for Switchblade Sisters, and it's a gem. I mean, it's like you could just flip it to any page and there's like a great piece of dialogue going on. Like this one. This is from the movie you're about to see. Everything was great before Maggie came around. It's Maggie, ain't it? She ruined it all. Everything was lousy. You were lousy. This whole game was lousy. Just great. Okay, again, another one. Let's see. She's rotting you from the inside, Lace. The girls listen to her while you've been in the hospital. Nobody takes what's mine. If Maggie wants blood, she'll get plenty of it. And on and on and on and on and on. This is so far one of the funnest films that we've got releasing through the Rolling Thunder video collection. It's directed by Jack Hill, and Jack Hill's films have always just been, to me, just some of the funnest exploitation movies made all throughout the 70s. He was sort of like the Howard Hawks of exploitation, insofar as he always worked in different genres. Now, let me give you a little clue as far as to watching this film is concerned. I watched this with audiences all over the place. And it starts off, and the film is very funny, and it's very high-pitched and hysterical. And I've watched it as audiences watch the film. Basically, at first, they're laughing kind of at the movie, because it's one of those kind of movies. But then, as it goes on, you kind of start realizing, no, this is genuinely funny. This dialogue is really good, and you start laughing with the movie. But then a very strange thing happens, and this is not the only Jack Hill film for this to happen. This happens in at least 3 of his other films. All of a sudden, you're watching towards the end of Switchblade Sisters, and all of a sudden, you realize you actually care about these people. Unbeknownst to you, this crazy, hysterical movie, you've actually gotten invested in the characters. And you actually feel for the characters of Lace and Maggie, the girls that run the Jezebels, the tough all-girl gang that just kicks so much butt in this movie. Anyway, this is a blast. Sit back, enjoy, have fun. Now, I'm going to tell you this little story about how this film came about. What had happened was, Jack Hill had pretty much made most of his movies for either Roger Corman at New World Pictures or Samuel Arkoff at AIP. He broke off from those guys and started his own company with his producer, John Prizer. And the company was called Centaur Releasing. And so the first film that they did, under this alliance, was a film called The Swinging Cheerleaders. And it was a smash. It did so well. It traveled through all the drive-ins of the South and in the North, and it was just a big hit. Now, that was such a hit that they decided to get together and do another film right afterwards. And the distributors were happy to, have them do another film because Swinging Cheerleaders was so successful. That film was a film called The Jezebels, which obviously Switchblade Sisters. All right, the whole film was called The Jezebels. That's how this title it was shot under. That's what they did it. Anyway, the way they used to release exploitation movies back then is they would take them from town to town to town. Kind of schlep them around, spend a little bit of money in this market, take them to St. Louis, spend a little bit of money in this market, take them to Baltimore, spend a little money in that market. Anyway, they open up The Jezebels. All right, and it does horrible business. Nobody goes and sees it. And the theater owners all say, well, it was because of the title. The Jezebels, what's that? People thought it was a Betty Davis movie. You got to have something harder. You got to come up with something harder. So they come up with the title Switchblade Sisters. Okay, so now they're going to release under Switchblade Sisters. However, they have one more engagement that they have to do under the Jezebels. So they change everything to Switchblade Sisters except for this one engagement. They open up the film in this other engagement, and the film does great under the title The Jezebels. The film does just absolutely fantastic. All right, so now, okay, forget about that. Now they got to release it under the title Switchblade Sisters, and the film does bad everywhere it plays. All right, it doesn't do well at all. Opens and closes, and that's pretty much the end of that. Personally, I have to say, while Jezebels is a little bit more organic, organically organic to the story, I actually like the title Switchblade Sisters better. I think it still describes the movie wonderfully. It makes no mistake about the kind of movie it is. Now, Switchblade Sisters is an exploitation film. Let me kind of just explain to some degree what exploitation cinema is, or at least what it was in the 60s and 70s. Why they called it exploitation was because there were films that basically didn't have big stars or big production values. They had elements in there that you could exploit, either sex, violence, action, things like that. That makes a snazzy movie poster. And inside of exploitation films in the 60s and 70s, there were many different genres. Well, Jack Hill was sort of the Howard Hawks of this type of exploitation director. All right, he worked in pretty much every, most of the genres going. All right, he did horror films, he did women in prison films, he did blaxploitation movies. He is the man who discovered Pam Grier. He's Joseph von Sternberg to Pam Grier's Dietrich, that's for sure. He did cheerleader movies. He even did a sword and sorcery movie. And this was his girl gang movie, but it also had a little bit of women prison in there. It had a lot of different types of films, in Switchblade Sisters. To me, Switchblade Sisters is his masterpiece. And one of the things that makes Jack Hill so exciting, and what makes a lot of these exploitation filmmakers exciting was they were coming at film with a commitment to movies. Jack Hill would take these, assignments that he was given, and he was never looking forward to do these movies. He just took the next assignment coming on. But then by the way he wrote them and the way, he worked in with this, like all of his films have the same kind of comic rhythm that Switchblade Sisters has. He built something meaningful out of it. And yeah, they're fun, and yeah, you're hooting and hollering and you're having a good time, but as the movies go on, you realize, the fun is not random. It's not just a mistake. No, it's building on. The film has rhythm. You're building on the jokes, and there's a very interesting dialogue rhythm going on in Switchblade Sisters, where it's like, normally dialogue is built to like a rhythm of pitch. That's the way my dialogue usually is. It's like, da 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 ba. All right. He's building a musical beat with the dialogue, and then undercuts it, all right, by throwing like more or less a word that is the equivalent of a bad note at the end of the crescendo. So it's on the beat, off the beat, constantly. That's why one of the reasons why this movie, the dialogue sounds so strange, because it seems to be building up a rhythm and then purposely, backs it up. Now, another interesting thing about the way Jack Hill conceived this movie is Jack Hill was always taking Jack Hill is a Shakespeare aficionado, and he was always using Shakespeare as the basis for his movies. Switchblade Sisters is Othello. It's set up straightforward. It's Othello. And Patch, all right, Monica Gale in the film, is basically, without a doubt, playing Iago. And not only is she playing Iago, she's playing Iago great. As far as I'm concerned, she's one of the best Iagos in film history. She does a great job with the film. And it's like, and so the whole film has this kind of like, Othello structure to it. Anyway, enjoy Switchblade Sisters.